Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Scott Fussell, and welcome to another edition of House and Home, our virtual learning series here at CSL Management. We put this training series on for anybody who has a head and a heart for fraternity and sorority housing and the experience that's unfolding within the four walls of our chapter houses. We really designed this for house directors and campus professionals and headquarters professionals and volunteers. So for those of you I haven't had a chance to meet, again, my name is Scott Fussell. I'm the director of education for CSL Management. I'm also the host of House and Home. I'm a Beta Theta Pi from Middle Tennessee State, where I had a life-changing fraternity experience, and it's really my experience within our chapter house at 304 East Slide was really why I continue to do the work that I do today. And I am just thrilled that you are with us, and I want to say thank you in advance for showing up. By doing so, that just reveals to us how much you care and how much concern and compassion and passion and just the drive that you have and the concern and care you have for our students who are calling our chapter houses home. So for showing up and being a part of today and learning more, to do all we can to support the fraternity experience within our houses and for the students specifically, we're really, really grateful. So thank you for showing up and being a part of today's session. I really quickly want to introduce today's guest speaker. We are thrilled to have Mike McRee with us. He is the COO for the North American Interfraternity Conference, and and frankly, as a side note, is a dear, dear friend of mine, and I'm just grateful for Mike's time and his expertise and for him sharing with us today. So he's going to be speaking with us today on a topic we're really calling the freshmen are coming, lots of them, and he'll get into what we mean by lots of them in his session and the content that he's about to share with us. But we want to help you understand what to expect and how to prepare for what's coming up this fall. So it's going to be a fall unlike one we've experienced before, and which is going to be a little bit like last year when we were entering a time where we really weren't sure what to expect. So this is going to be another one of those falls that's going to be a little different than what we may have experienced in the past. So Mike, thanks so much for being with us this morning. We're thrilled to have you. And I want to turn it over to you and take it away. Thanks again for being with us.
Scott, great to be with you and the CSL team as always. And welcome to everyone who's joining us for this edition of House and Home. And today I'm really going to try and boil down kind of a top 10, maybe a 10 plus 1 things that we're thinking about for this fall as we head into fall 2021 and being in a position where we can be as prepared and as ready to welcome back our students into our organizations and chapter houses. So I'll just jump right in there and let you know that one of the main things that we are all thinking about industry-wide is we are likely going to have 2.5 years of freshmen that will be coming to our college campus. And what we mean by that is the seniors this year will be the only people who have experienced a full year uninterrupted. Everyone else has not had a full year, and thinking that people know how to run and manage our chapter houses and facilities and operations as an organization is probably not a good place to start. So we are thinking about this of like a whole couple of years now of freshmen that are coming in. I've even talked with some undergraduate students recently who said, wow, I didn't realize you were that tall. So they may have not even seen each other physically in that space. And so assuming that they know how to run and manage the organization and operations, we should not assume that that's going to be the case. So with that, we're a little concerned that there is some individuals, if we've not developed training and opportunities to make sure, hey, are they up to speed with knowing what are the current health and safety guidelines? We want our organizations and events to be the safest place for our members and guests. This should include no hard alcohol at those events. They should know how to register social events. And there are lots of resources that many of the insurance providers have already provided for us and to us. So these are hyperlinks and ways in which Scott can follow up with the slide deck or additional resources as we go through. But there are many additional resources that I would encourage you and your volunteers to make sure that you're sharing with undergraduates and making sure that you have a good knowledge, and not assuming that people know exactly how to do what we normally would expect our folks to do. They just haven't had the training, and there's been enough gaps in between that we need to assume that everyone is an incoming freshman and they have no idea of how to typically do. They will not have had that passed down shared knowledge and understanding. So first and foremost, let's make sure our members and guests are safe and have good health practices in play. There's been a lot of social unrest over the last couple of years. This has been an ongoing issue that our members are committed to and have interest in being a leader in this space. And if your chapter, your organization does not have a DEI or a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, now is the time to start, not waiting until we're at another place. And if you think about, we're trying to train leaders in our chapters to be able to go lead organizations, and they're likely going to be doing that with people who look, act, and think differently than they do, and they are. So it's a critical skill to be able to do that, and now is always the best time to start in improving our education, improving our awareness, improving our inclusivity. Not only is it good for the leadership of our members, it is good for the inclusion of our chapters and for recruitment and retention of our members. Everyone wants to be in a position and in an organization where they feel like they matter. And we think we have a unique ability to do that. So we have lots of diversity, equity, and inclusion resources. Again, hyperlinked here. This will be a part of the slide deck. We've partnered with AFLV, which is an association within the industry. It's the Association of Fraternal Leadership and Values, to develop these resources. These are plug and play. So this will work for your chapter. It will work for councils. These are free resources that we have on our website that can help you move in that direction. There are a couple of examples of 2 universities who have developed some DEI plans. There are many universities who have already done this. I'm not saying these are the best, but these provide some templates to get you started to say, hey, what are some other campuses? What are some other organizations doing? And how can we not start from scratch if I don't know what to do? Let's start with a template and help us develop as a part of that. But it's always, diversity, equity, inclusion is important to our organizations. It's important to our members. It's totally important to society. And now is the best time to do that so that we're creating environments where our members feel like they matter. And this is a critical piece to do now. If you look at any successful organization, sports team, company, they don't limit their recruitment to 1 to 2 weeks out of the year. They are constantly figuring out how to scout and look for new talent of who they want to recruit and bring into their organization. Now is not the time to be sitting on the sidelines. We believe that our organizations have a unique ability to create the home away from home, to make college a little less big, to find my niche, to find my set of friends, and to connect in a meaningful way. And in order to do that, we need to actually get out and meet and greet with those individuals. They're all around us, and they're looking for that home away from home as well. So while we may get the normal likely joiners through our formalized or unstructured recruitment processes, the reality is we actually want to figure out where are all the people who aren't finding us. Who are the people who are on the fence and maybe just need So a little bit more information, a little bit more additional contact or connect. Focusing on their needs, not ours, is always a good approach when looking for potential candidates. We're actually figuring out how to take a digital style of recruitment and piloting with these 4 campuses. So if you think of this, anytime you talk around your friends and, hey, I'm thinking about purchasing this new product, all of a sudden it shows up in your Facebook feed or other things. They are listening into our conversation. And how can we actually take that type of an approach to target people who could be interested in our organizations? So we're going to use this interesting digital model to pilot on 4 different campuses, and hopefully we're going to be in a position to learn from those pilots and be able to offer that on a much broader scale across multiple different universities. But here's a start of what we're trying to focus on, of like, hey, let's not sit on our butts and wait for them to come to the front door. Let's figure out how we can go get them, and let's do that more than 1 or 2 weeks out of the year. Likely, we want to figure out how to make this process easier, not harder. So let's figure out how we can remove barriers for joining. Let's make sure that we're regulating behavior, not access, right? And if we've looked at some of the research in our partnership with EverFi, and the 2 main reasons why people are choosing not to join and what they are telling us through our surveys through EverFi is their concerns around academics and finances. So we need to figure out how to educate our members of how they can be experts at being able to explain and help potential new members understand what are the real commitments around academics and what are the real commitments around finances. There's no reason this needs to have any mystery. There's a way to actually remove those barriers, answer those questions, and make sure that they understand exactly what they're getting into before they're joining. It leads to higher retention and a better satisfaction rate for our membership anyway. So make sure that when you're reaching out, focus on academics and finances as key ways to figure out how to answer some of their most commonly asked questions. When we think about where things go awry in our organization, we always have this, there's only a few bad apples kind of conversation, right? And at the end of the day, likely most of the members in your chapter know who those individuals are already. So how do we make sure that those individuals are not causing and impacting negatively our organization that cause us not to be able to come back to a full fall in the way that we all want? So in order to do that, each chapter needs to have an operating chapter standards judicial board. I can tell you from being a former chapter president and a former Interfraternity Council president, the new game they play in town whenever you got newly elected leadership is where will you draw the line? And so at a certain point, what they need to figure out and do is, hey, what's the line that we're not going to cross, and how are we going to enforce that internally? Peer accountability is one of the most effective ways to manage and regulate behavior. It's when your peers say, hey man, that's not okay. That went too far. And when you hear that from your peers, that has a significant impact in making sure that we're all following in line. But to make sure that, let's make sure that our officers have all the knowledge, ability, and skills to be able to do their own judicial process. They understand all the rules, and that we're working to address the small minority of members who are wanting to push the boundaries. When they hear the overwhelming majority of the membership saying, hey, that's too far, then everything kind of gets in line. But making sure that we have that accountability system is in play is critical to make sure that we have a good, safe fall for both our members and guests. With trying to keep them safe, right? New member education and making sure our onboarding processes are critical, not only to the health and survival of our organization, but to bring people in the right way into our organization. There are many things that can be seen that we can focus on: alcohol, hazing, sexual misconduct. what are the expectations that we have of our members and ourselves and guests, and how do we communicate that with our new folks that are coming into our organization? There are lots of resources that we have available. Here are links that can provide you additional programming and free content for you as well. Remember, all of our new member education activities should be alcohol and drug free. We encourage both your chapter and campus community to create a Good Samaritan policy. So never do we want to be in a position where our members are questioning, should they call 911 or not? That answer is always yes, they should call. And so a Good Samaritan policy, either for the organization and or individual, I think helps alleviate that. If you look at all the risk prevention folks, they highly encourage that. Many colleges and universities already have that policy in place, and most national organizations do as well. So it may just be simply educating them about why we care to be our brother and sister's keeper, and that in any event that there's any potential problems, we should call 911 immediately. We don't want to wish we would have later. So there are some key event times that are always good to watch out for. We've listed them here. You likely know them, but it's a good reminder to everyone to say, here are some times to have an additional watchful eye on the chapter and operations to make sure everyone's doing okay. Our members care about the safety of their guests and their own brothers and sisters. We need to take a leadership role in taking on sexual misconduct. This is particularly true at the start of school, which is what we're talking about. They often refer to this as the red zone, the first 6 weeks of school. Making sure that people understand what are the resources that are available for them on campus. How do you report if I feel that either I or someone that I know is in a position where they need additional support, services, and information? Lots of additional training on active bystander training. The NCAA has provided this, Step Up provided this. I've got both of these resources as links here, but this is a critical issue that has no place in our organizations and chapters. So let's really take a leadership role, figuring out how we can engage in really eradicating any forms of sexual misconduct of our members and in our organizations. We believe in our members and guests' safety and good health. Always good to have a plan before you need one, and that's true with crisis management as well. So let's not plan a social event and have no idea what happens if it gets out of control from the beginning. That's just poor planning. Our members do best when they've thought things through, have a plan B, have a plan C, and know exactly what's going to happen should crisis arise. So this is important to have relationships. So I often think of relationship currency. At the end of the day, it's hard to make withdrawals if you've not made deposits. And we need and can and should make lots of deposits with university relations, relations with our alumni, relations with our parents, relations with our headquarters, and volunteers. These are great ways for us to be able to do that. And there are so many departments on campus that it's important for us to build critical, important relationships as a part of that. And now is the time to start that. Making sure that all in the chapter know what the proper protocols are should the event of an emergency happen. Let's make sure that we've got good plans in place and are well prepared for this fall. And hopefully we'll have no issues going through, but if, God forbid, we do, we'll have a plan in place and know what to do. The pandemic has certainly been challenging for many of us on multiple levels. So whether it's the feeling of isolation, or if my parents have lost employment, or we've had to move or change, or any one of these scenarios, even if I'm having a difficult time figuring out how do I stay in school and pay for it, there are lots of mental challenges that our members are going through. And the best way to do that is to check in, is to connect. we are in a unique position to actually do that more effectively than almost any organization on campus. And in order to do that, that means I actually have to call, I actually have to text, I actually have to check in and do that in a fairly regular interval. And do it beyond just the surface level communication, that I actually care and want to know how you are doing and what I can do to best support you. So this type of quality interaction and connection is where we excel. Our members just need a reminder that we need to reach out to our brothers and sisters to make sure that we're connecting with them and making sure that they're okay. If we have members that are acting out, it could be a sign that there's other things underneath the surface that are going on. And that may be an opportunity for us to engage of like, hey, how are you doing? I saw this, that's not like you. Can we connect? Can we chat? Can we touch base, right? Everyone wants that caring friend who actually really does care about their health and safety. And when you do that in a meaningful way, it actually embodies all of the values and characteristics that our organizations shine and are founded on. So make sure that all of your members understand what the resources are available to them, both within the national organization as well as on campus. There are many resources available. So let's not make it like I just didn't know what to do. Make sure that everyone else has that information and knows how to help facilitate that with their members. There have been lots of activism popping up on a variety of issues on college campuses, and that's because our leaders care. Our members want to be leaders on these types of issues and understand that they could be receiving pressure from outside entities on, hey, what are you doing on these particular issues? What leadership stance have you done? And understand we've got a cycle that can happen where there is social media posting, there feels like there's pressure, and then we want to try and resolve this. And what we really need to focus on is not having outside pressure change the course in which we need and want to be leaders on these issues to begin with. These are important issues that our organization and its members care about. We want to be in an environment where people feel like they matter. So regardless of the issue at hand or the time of year or the issue that we're dealing with, our members can be leaders in these, and it's important that they understand how to best do that. Now is the time to do that. But there are some organizations that want to eradicate us totally. And instead of folding, I actually think that our members have the best chance to step up and provide leadership at this time. And it's critical. It was important a year, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years ago, and it will be important in the future. So now is the time to engage in how we are working on improving our organizations and making environments that people feel that they are matter and are connected. It's what we have the ability to do almost uniquely different than anyone else. Walking away from this problem doesn't solve it. We need to roll up our sleeves, figure out how we're going to provide some leadership in this area, and engage our members to work to find those solutions. Lastly, in my kind of 10+1 here, let's kind of act like we know what to do in the fall before we act like we don't, right? So how do we engage in making sure before we get up to highway speeds, let's drive around the neighborhood a little bit before get our training wheels on before we get back up on the on-ramp. So we want this ability for our members to get back and connect socially. We want them to have the opportunity to do that safely. And the fastest way to ensure that you probably lose that ability is to not have a plan, don't prepare, and assume that everything's just going to be fine. We need to be much smarter about that and figure out how are we going to make sure that we do this safely and kind of get up to speed rather than coming out of the gate and hitting the highway. So remember that our connections are based on people and friendships, not on beverages, right? So at the end of the day, alcohol should not be the driver of these types of connections. This is a perfect time to engage our alumni, our parents, the families, the people who love and care for us as well. Make sure that we're connecting on about our policies and how we can make sure that we understand what those rules are. Remember, no hard alcohol is the rule of the land, and we're trying to remove that. So we're not trying to remove alcohol or remove fun. People can still drink beer, but we just simply don't have people having the same level of tragedy where it happens. And if you talk with undergraduate students, it's when the fast drinking with hard alcohol happens that things start to get out of hand. So let's come back this fall. Let's have fun. Let's make sure it's safe, but let's make sure that we ease into this, right? That we take the on-ramp before we get to the interstate. And more than likely, we need our own speed limit that we enforce, that we engage, and we have our own peer pressure positively on our members to say, hey, we don't act like jerks. We don't do these types of things. This is how we act that represents our organization, our values, and we plan to do that now and in the future. And if we do, we have the opportunity to continue to have fun, make sure that our members and our guests are safe and healthy, and that we can all come back in a great fall experience. So I'm hopeful that all of this works well to get your chapters ready for this fall. You can certainly contact me at any time and our NIC team. Here's my individual contact information, but I want to say that we appreciate you as volunteers. We appreciate your commitment. We could not be where we are without you. Now is the time they need your guidance and support more than ever, because with a couple of years of freshmen that are coming in and not knowing what to do, please don't assume that business as usual. Business is not as usual, and we need to assume that our folks just don't have those reps, the understanding and know-how. And if you're anything like me, when I was at that age, I always acted like I knew what I was doing, even though I didn't. So take the time to make sure that you're actually really connecting and explaining often why and how are the two things that students really want to understand. And if we can do that in a meaningful way, we'll be in a better position to make sure that we're safe this fall. So again, thank you for all of your efforts in supporting our members, your time commitment, your love for the organization. We couldn't do this without you, and I hope everyone has a safe fall.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. I just, oftentimes I look at our students as if they're the hub of a bicycle wheel, right? And our job is to put as many spokes around that hub as possible so they are as supported as so they're appropriately and effectively supported. So whether it's volunteers, campus administrators, or just having a plan in place, all of those spokes work together to make sure that that student has the right amount of support. So for providing 10 more spokes plus one today, know that we are really, really grateful. So thank you for sharing your expertise and with our audience today. So just so grateful for that, Mike. So thank you for your time and your expertise. So and thank you to each of you. Again, as Mike said, we can't do this without you. We know that, again, we've got to put as many spokes around this hub as possible, and you are a key piece to this puzzle and a key spoke in this wheel. So thank you so much for showing up today, and thanks for showing up for our students this fall. They've never needed you more than they need you this fall. So know that we are grateful for you stepping up and stepping in and being there for them this fall. So our contact information is on the screen. So if you have any questions about today's content, or if you want a copy of the slides, which will have the live links in them, please reach out to me. You see I'm the guy there it's sort of in the middle on the right. My email address is there and my phone number is there as well. So if you'd like to reach out via email or text message or phone call, please do so, and I'll make sure that we get you the slides to you so that you have the live links to the resources that Mike mentioned earlier. So with that being said, thank you again. for being with us today. We're so grateful, and have a great fall, and have a great start to the fall. And we will see you next time on the next episode of House and Home. Thanks, everyone. Take care.